this to be interactive, so at any time, if you guys have questions, feel free to take yourself off mute and go ahead and interrupt me. I'm happy to veer off track and answer any questions that you might have. I'm really excited to be doing this today. It's part of our new Connect mini series that we're unrolling in addition to our in-person big events. Elena just held one recently that was how to build your brand, and we had a really great turnout that was in office. So today is our first virtual webinar. This will be recorded. We're happy to redistribute it. And we have also sent everyone the alignment sheet template to your email. I will be going page by page through that alignment sheet. So if you want to have that pulled up for your reference, and once again, if you have any questions as I'm going through that, feel free to unmute yourself, chime in, and I'm happy to answer them as I go along. Let's kick it off. I figured I'd start with an introduction of myself. I started with Yellowbird back in January of 2020 as a transaction coordinator. There was probably a room of 5 of us hustling to do about 15 deals a month. And then after COVID settled down a bit and we were back in office, we moved into our new office here on Atlantic Boulevard, the beautiful Queens Harbor building. And the market also started to pick back up right around then as well. So we had a big hiring push, we had a big marketing push, and we developed a real team started to come together around June of 2021, where I took on the title of acquisitions manager, and I started holding alignment meetings with staff members. And I really started to learn a lot as far as helping them set goals, both personally and professionally, and helping guide people to really reach their full potential. Today, my title is Chief of Staff. I oversee all the different departments across the office, and I really help just push projects along, assist with communications and expectations throughout all of the fun stuff that we always have going on here at Yellowbird. How does Yellowbird stay aligned? So I feel that it's super important when you're trying to implement this, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, that it's consistent and systemized. So in that way, it's everyone knows what to expect when certain meetings come up, or when they show up for the week, they know certain staples that they plan to attend, and what it will look like when they're there. So daily we do morning huddles. Weekly, we do department L10s, and I will go meeting by meeting and kind of do a brief summary and overview of what exactly that looks like. Bi-weekly, we host a book club, which we all love. Monthly, we do those one-on-one alignment meetings with the staff and their direct supervisor. And we also do staff meetings where the entire company, we actually use the Lion's Share co-work space. And we meet up, we review monthly slides, key numbers, and review current projects that we all may be working on. And then quarterly, we also hold clarity days, which I'll get a bit more in depth on later in the presentation. So morning huddles are at 8:45 every day in our office. Our hours are 8:30 to 5:30, but 8:45 kind of allows a little soft flex allowance there. So at 8:45, everyone knows they should be in the office, ready to go, coffee in hand, or coffee can wait till after. Sometimes we have to chase some staff members to join us, but the goal of morning huddles are to be efficient, effective, and on time every day. Some of the topics that you might cover are wins from the day before, something you might be working on today, or something that you might be stuck on. So it really just gets everyone on the same page as to, what I'm working on today. One of my coworkers might mention something that sparks, something that I've forgotten from the day before. We're able to catch up on it really quick and then be off on our day. These really only last 5 minutes, even if we had a room of 20 people hitting their bullet points of what their plans are for that day. So next was the departmental L10s that we host weekly. The screenshot here is the agenda, once again, consistent and systemized across every single meeting that we hold. We follow the book Traction for how we run our meetings, and they recently rebranded to Bloom Growth. If anyone wanted to go and look a bit further into that program there. The key feature that we love about it is that it eliminates side conversations. And everyone who should be there for conversations are around that table as their department is running through their weekly meeting. So the structure is first a check-in. We review a personal and a business win from the past 7 days. The next 5 minutes allocated to that meeting are to review goals or our professional rocks, which I'll get a bit further into also in this presentation. Headlines, those are shout outs to a team member, updates on events that might be coming up. And then the next line on the agenda there are to-dos. So within every meeting, topics come up. I'll get assigned to-dos. Other team members get assigned to-dos. The standard is to have those completed by the following meeting, which once again, same time every week. Oh, someone's trying to join here. So everyone knows they're on the same page that they're expected to have those to-dos done by the time that we're meeting the following week. And then issues. You'll see that there's 60 minutes allocated to issues there. The entire team is empowered to enter issues, and they're encouraged to come prepared with proposed solutions as well. So this really helps form problem-solving habits. And once again, all the right people are in the room to discuss what the best solution might be, who should take ownership of it, and once again, that to-do is assigned from there. Of course, there is unexpected roadblocks that might come up, but it shouldn't be a surprise the first time hearing about it when we're all in the room every week. And this is a really good way to force progress through the department. In addition to our goal setting, is bringing those issues up, setting the to-dos, reviewing them the following week, and continuing on that cycle there. Next up is a book club. This is one of my favorite parts about working at Yellowbird. I've highlighted a few books that I feel might be good reads for people who are just getting on this journey of goal setting and becoming more intentional with where they're spending their time and their attention. So the first is Getting Things Done by David Allen. This book is full of systems that outline organizing your daily tasks or new ideas. And there's some really good nuggets that you can take away from there. But I will warn you that, every chapter is a new system that he suggests to implement, and it could really be overwhelming. So if you were to read this book, I would suggest taking each suggestion with a grain of salt and finding one or two things that might work for you. So one key takeaway that I thought was awesome from this book was if an item is actionable, there are 3 options. The first is to do it. If an action will take less than 2 minutes, it should be done at the moment that it's defined. The second option is to delegate it. If the action will take longer than 2 minutes, ask yourself, am I the right person to do this? If the answer is no, go ahead and delegate it. And then the third one is to defer it. If the action will take you longer than 2 minutes and you are the right person to do it, defer it and add it to your next actions list, which the next actions list is another system that he suggests to follow within the book. And like I said, this was just one snippet of one of David's suggestions there, and this book is full of them, and it's a really good resource if you're just getting started. Secondly is Atomic Habits. I feel like this has been a really popular book and recommended on all the reading lists that I've reviewed. It's by James Clear. What he reviews are the small incremental changes that you can make in order to achieve long-term improvement. So you'll see this chart here. It's that exponential growth slope rather than linear. So if you get 1% better every day, similar to investments or other things like that, you'll see that quicker slope really go up. And that also ties into a theme that we talk about often in Yellowbird here of change small and change often. One big takeaway too, the final note on this book is he talks about speaking the goals into your identity. So rather than saying, I want to run 5 miles without stopping, you might say, I am an avid runner who can run long distances. So speaking those in I am phrases is really strong to tie it to your identity, take it one step deeper, really believe that you are capable of doing those things and can lead to better success rates in the long run. Something that I thought was interesting was that both of those books summarized a 2-minute rule. So, getting things done, we reviewed that on the previous slide. If an action will take less than 2 minutes, it should be done at the moment that it's defined. And then Atomic Habits utilizes a 2-minute rule in the way that nearly any habit can be scaled down into a 2-minute version. So, read before bed each night becomes read 1 page, or running 3 miles might become tie my running shoes. And then one step further from that could be walk for 10 minutes, could turn into jog around the block. So the key takeaway from this that both authors were getting at is to start small, and start with a bite-sized piece, because you don't want to overwhelm yourself and bite off more than you can chew, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, you would only end up discouraging yourself. And then lastly, I wanted to tie off the book club with some additional book recommendations. Extreme Ownership was actually the first book that we had read in the Yellowbird book club, and we're reading it again right now. And it's really cool when you revisit a book at a different time or a different place. You take away different pieces, but Extreme Ownership is it summarizes Navy SEAL training, Navy SEAL active battle examples, and then it ties that into business struggles that people overcome. And it really exaggerates the importance of clear communication and the ability to adapt to changing situations. So that was a great one. These were all favorites across the board of Yellowbird employees. The second one is Green Lights. This is a bit of a lighter read. But we suggest listening to it on audiobook because Matthew McConaughey narrates it himself. And this one's a bit more lighthearted. It is the story of his growth to fame. He talks about how he was in the whirlwind of his rom-coms, but what he drives home is the importance of living in the present and being true to yourself. So that's another favorite of the Yellowbird team. And then lastly was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. This one was this one had some more hot topics in it, and we had some more heated conversations, but it was really cool. He talked a lot about facing your own weaknesses, the importance of taking care of yourself, self-discipline, and then also living through the chaos and suffering that comes with everyday life. So reading the books with the team is once again, really good conversation starters, but as we go through change, which here at Yellowbird, we've been experiencing a lot of change lately, I find myself, talking to a coworker and referencing, a subject that we had just talked about and say, it's crazy, book club's doing what it's supposed to do. We have all these takeaways and we've learned a lot of strong lessons that, unite us as a team and bring similar vocabulary to help us work through problems together. So on to alignment meetings, which is the main topic of the presentation today. I put the subtitle as Write It Down and Review It Regularly. You'll find throughout different ways that I'll discuss this, it really comes down to writing down what you want to achieve and reviewing it regularly. So starting with some statistics, these specifically were from a study by Dr. Gail Matthews, all of these statistics on here. But across the internet, you'll find a bunch of different reports, a bunch of different numbers, but they all really trend in the same direction. So within the general population, Dr. Matthews found that 83% of the respondents don't have goals at all. 40% of them had plans, but not in writing. 3% of the respondents had written goals. And then to take that one step further, you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals if they're written down. And that increases to 76% if you write them down and you share weekly progress reports. So once again, write it down and review it regularly is a really big theme. And that's why utilizing the alignment sheet and the system and the cadence of meeting to review those has really driven a lot of growth, both personally and professionally for myself and a lot of the team here at our office. So one key factor to working through the alignment sheet is accountability. You are not the best person to hold yourself accountable. You tend to let yourself off easy every once in a while. So the key is to find a strong partner. This is someone who wants you to succeed. They'll support you, but also really important is that they're not afraid to call you out or challenge you to reach higher. Here at Yellowbird, by default, you have your alignment meetings with your direct supervisor, but what I would like everyone to do is take a moment and write down three people that you think might be a strong accountability partner for you. This could be a monthly commitment, weekly, or daily, and it depends on what type of support you're looking for. But I do want to point out that these arrows that we put in here go both ways. So you should really reach out to someone to ask for their support, but it should be an accountability relationship where you challenge each other, you push each other to be better, and you should be growing together, especially if this is something that you plan to implement within an office environment. All right, so next up is a page by page breakdown. Once again, I did send out the blank template and I saw a note that someone had not yet received it. So if you don't have it to reference, go ahead and shoot your email in the chat box and we will be sure to get that over to you. But here we go. The first tab that you'll see when you open up the alignment sheet is labeled RREK, and that stands for roles, responsibilities, expectations, and key numbers. I did pull one from our records that we had filled out when we were looking for an executive assistant. So you'll see in the role description there, it's a summary of the team member's role. This is similar to what you might read on LinkedIn or Indeed when the candidate is searching for that. And then it gets boiled down more specifically to their responsibilities and then expectations as well. Key numbers for this role we had not yet ironed down, but I can give some examples. One that we use often is for sales team members. The metric could be outbound calls. The target could be 50 calls per week. And then that overall key number impacted would be deals generated or revenue generated, things of that nature. Marketing, it could be our cost per lead. The target could be below $100. Overall key number impacted would be our budgeted goals for that month, quarter, whatever we might be working toward at that time. Once again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to take yourselves off mute and chime in, and I'm happy to answer them as I'm going through. So second here, this is a balance check. I think that this is a really good place to start when you're first working through the alignment sheet because it's a place to do some self-reflection. And you can review it to get a baseline of where you are at currently. So you'll see each one has a label here of the category relationships and family, physical, financial, spiritual, and it does continue on. If you were to scroll the page, naturally, this is just a screenshot here, but go through, rate yourself 1 through 5, and that wheel there that you see is a nice looking circle will become a bit more jagged, and the points where they dive in will be indicators of where you should set some goals or put your attention on that. And I'll revisit this wheel of life with some examples as to how mine has transformed as I've been setting goals here using the alignment sheet. Goal design, I think this is a good second tab to tackle if you're doing it for the first time. This is a really good brainstorming sheet. Above these areas to enter your brainstorming, there's some strong reading materials that help you also develop goals. And then you'll see also the thought starters that are there. So under business, revenue growth, profit, position in market. Within your family and relationships, some thought starters could be spending more time with your family, be home for dinner every night, nightly reading rituals. So we have 3 highlighted within the cells for our team here at Yellowbird. So when they're filling it out, we really ask them to push themselves to come up with 3 for each category. So that's what the color coding means there. But once you get started in writing down, within each category what you would want to achieve, and the juices start flowing, you'll find you'll really start to flow and set some cool brainstorm goals for yourself. And then next up is the future. Once again, as I mentioned, you see relationships and family, physical, business, financial. So the themes and the categories will continue through each of the tabs here. When I personally fill this out, and I was just recently working on mine for my 2023 sheet, we start blank at the beginning of each new year. I start at the 10 to 25 year mark and just kind of do a brain dump of where I want to be. And then you boil that down to what activities must I do within 1 year to get me closer to where I want to be. And then vertically again, it breaks it down into 90 days. What are some 90 days rocks that I want to tackle that bring me closer to where I want to be within this year? And then down the road even further to that 10 to 25 year mark. One other book that we really enjoyed reading here was The Gap and the Gain. And what the author, I can't remember off the top of my head, but what he had summarized was your future goals are similar to looking to the horizon. And the closer that you move to the horizon, the further away it looks, right? Or you get closer to that goal, and next thing you know, you're reaching even further naturally. So it's okay to amend your goals and your entries, and the structure of the meetings actually will prompt you to review and update specific tabs prior to that meeting date. So I'll review that a bit further into this presentation too, as to how frequently you should be revisiting each sheet here. Any questions yet as I continue? Nothing? Awesome. So this comes to the present tab as well. Something that I had a big takeaway as recently, once again, I was filling out my 2023 sheet, is that there's no right or wrong way to fill out any of these sheets or specific cells. In the past, my present sheet has been very specific to, my work core values, my strengths within the office, my weaknesses. But more recently, I've found that I've been, modeling my answers more towards who I am overall when I interact with my family or people in the community. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. And the most important thing is just thinking about it. I do want to review the entries that go under the your potential category there, because these are some frequently asked questions when I am reviewing alignment sheets with people for the very first time, when they're new hires or just need a refresher. So 10x opportunities, there's a bit of a prompt there. It says, what do you need to do in order to maximize your results? So basically, what is an activity that if I continue doing this, the growth is exponential, that curve from the diagram from Atomic Habits. If I keep doing this, what is something that could absolutely blow up for me? And then my 20%, the prompt says, what things can you do for 20% of your week that can show for 80% of your results? So that's the old adage that 20% of your efforts show for 80% of your results. So this is something that you spend a little bit more time on, that really that people do notice that this is what she does, this is what she's working on. That 20%, what are you spending a good chunk of time on? And then my 4%, we relate this to what's urgent is never important, and what's important is never urgent. So there's a few different examples. I can think of one specific to our office that I often use as I'm showing people the alignment sheet for the first time. And it's back when I was doing transactions, we would have a pipeline meeting every Tuesday that was 15 minutes long. And I would spend, the end of the day, Friday and Monday, getting prepared for it. And I would have a list of all the addresses that I had a transaction on, and I needed to have just a one-liner update of where we're at, left a voicemail waiting to hear back, or this one's clear to close, or this one's whatever. And Pat and I would sit for 15 minutes in the conference room and review the entire pipeline list. It would take 15 minutes, but I would have a to do list that would last me the entire week. So, what's something that you spend a really short amount of time on, but it really has the biggest results? Something that's not necessarily urgent, but it's important, and you spend a small amount of time on that. And then 2023 goals, this is where it really all comes together. Going back to the accountability slide that we reviewed, it's really important to have a conversation with your accountability partner to see if the outline goals that you had reviewed are aligned with where you found your priorities or your categories that need some work are. So you would go ahead and outline there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 goals that you should outline, and then measurement. How are you measuring it? Notes, and then category. So if it's a financial goal, is it a relationship goal? And then continuing on over to the right, that's just really workspace, and there's no, once again, right or wrong way to utilize those cells. You can use it as a tracker. You can use it to set up some milestones for yourself. Or I want to be, I want to have saved $2,000 by April, and work backwards and forwards from there. And then down beneath there is potential obstacles. What will I do, or who can help me? Once again, any questions at any time, go ahead and chime in. And then I believe this is the last tab on the alignment sheet that we're going to review today, which is the schedule. This is a really good talking point, especially between staff and their manager, to encourage people to time block, be intentional about where they're spending their time. And once again, a big part of doing the alignment sheet is just being prompted to go out of your way to think about these things, which often can just get lost in the whirlwind. In addition to instilling those good habits of time blocking into our team members, something that was really interesting was a conversation I had recently in reviewing someone's schedule with them, where they had 2 hours blocked off to, work on this task or this project that, in my opinion, I didn't think that 2 hours a week was necessary. So we kind of talked through what does that look like, and we found some inefficiencies in the process that the team member was working on. So it's just really good to keep tabs on, where is your team spending their time? Is that the most important thing that they should be working on? And once again, instilling those good habits. All right, so that is page by page of the alignment sheet. Does anyone have any questions at this time before we continue on? No? All right. So we are a Google Docs company. So I did want to show specifically how to navigate a bit of the sheet as well. So you'll see these are the tabs that we just reviewed, or a few of them: the future, schedule, balance check. And then you'll see AH123 stands for alignment huddle for January of 23. And then if you were to hit that button to scroll right, there are meeting tabs for once a month through all of the months of this year. So this is what the alignment meeting tab looks like. I'm going to navigate back and forth between the slides here. So you'll see that the tab that we're looking at currently is for March of 23. And then this one's April. They are identical, except for the bottom left. You'll see under the IDS discussion column there that we are reviewing rocks in the present sheet in March. And then in April, we review rocks in the future tab. So when I was referencing earlier how it is important to revisit and review and make sure, that a goal that you had set earlier in this year, there could have been a life event that, veered you off track, and you need to revisit that specific category because life just happened. So the way that these meetings are formatted over time, you will end up revisiting each tab twice that year. But starting back from the top, once again, we have a very similar introductory meeting with all the things that I'm reviewing right now with each new hire. But we once again, we stress the importance of remaining consistent and systemized and allowing everyone to know exactly what's expected of them when they show up to that meeting. So at the top there, you'll see successes, and there's 4 successes for personal and family and 4 successes for work. And when these meetings are happening once a month, you'd be surprised how many times people say, well, I can't really think of things, and oh, I don't know. But we don't tolerate those excuses, to put it quite frankly. And I tell people, scroll back through your camera roll, scroll back through your calendar. Were there any meetings where you made a lot of progress? They have pictures out and about with their friends when they had a really fun brunch, and that's a win. And also, reviewing your wins and being disciplined to acknowledge that they're out there are really good habits to instill in your team. And then continuing down the page there, you'll see outstanding to dos from the meeting prior. So if I received a to do to follow up on something, we would review that. I would confirm that it was all set. Once again, similar to that traction structure, where you get the to do, the expectation is to have it done by the next time you meet. And then this is where we'd get that full closure there. And then there's a space for new to dos that might come up from the conversation in the alignment meeting that day. And then back down to that IDS in discussion. This follows, once again, the traction format, where the team member is encouraged to put any additional issues or topics that they might want to discuss with their supervisor at that time. Or for myself personally, if something pops into my mind and I know I have an alignment meeting with that team member the following week, I'll just pop into their sheet here, put the topic in there, and we'll be sure to review it when we meet for that alignment meeting. All right, any questions before I move on here? All right. So next is a bit of goal setting, what I've learned, what I've experienced, my little takeaways from doing alignment meetings, setting rocks over the past 3 years, and helping other people through it as well. So I think we've probably all heard of SMART goal setting: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So what I was able to do was take each of these categories and find a way to either relate them back to the alignment sheet or tell you a little bit about what I've learned over time within each specific part. So for the specific, your goal is direct, detailed, and meaningful. So for this one, I have a do and I have a don't when it comes to being specific. So I suggest that you do refer back to your balance check to confirm the areas of needed improvement for yourself. So over to the left, you'll see a little ugly duckling of what my wheel of life looked like on the balance check back in 2020. And then over 2 years with 4 quarters, that's 8 different goals, personal goals that I had set for myself, or 16 actually, because we encourage people to do more than one personal goal for each quarter. Usually we do 2 personal and 2 professional goals. But by the end of 2022, I was pretty proud of how well-rounded my balance check was looking when I revisited that the self-reflection balance check survey there. And then a don't when it comes to being specific is don't pigeonhole yourself. So this is actually a specific example from someone on the Yellowbird team. She was someone who didn't often work out and wanted to get in the habit of doing so. So she thought to herself, wow, like I'll commit to doing 36 Orange Theory workouts. And what she found out about halfway through was she was tired of doing Orange Theory workouts, when in reality, the theme of the goal and her true intention was to just get active. So she would go and run on her treadmill, but it couldn't count toward her goal. So at the end of the quarter, she actually did not achieve the 36 Orange Theory classes, but in the heart, she achieved becoming more active and getting out there and bettering herself. So my suggestion, and what we've implemented along the way as we've continued to learn these lessons, is to categorize it a bit more broader, but still be specific to that category. So Something more successful and more attainable would be 36 strength training workouts. You can go to Orange Theory. You can go, lift weights on your own at Crunch Fitness. So allowing yourself a little bit of flexibility while still being specific is really important in setting yourself up for success. Measurable, your goal is quantifiable to track progress or success. So we do this by breaking down our 90-day goals into 2-week breakdowns. So I coined these two phrases and found these sketchplanations, which I had never heard of before, but I'm a very visual person, so I figured it may be helpful for you guys too. So the first way to build a goal is progress oriented with leading metrics and lagging metrics. And I'll have a specific example on the next slide of each of these. So the example here, which actually aligns with the visual on the next page, is diet and exercise as your leading activity results in the lagging metric of weight loss is your result, versus discipline oriented, where you may just commit to doing something a certain amount of times, which results in more of a habit installation versus making a measurable change. So to follow the weight loss example, the goal may be to lose 10 pounds. The leading metric would be to set up MyFitnessPal and outline your workout routine, with the lagging metric on the 31st of I should be down 2 pounds by now, or else I'm off track for my goal. If I were not down 2 pounds at that point, I should reevaluate, well, what's my next milestone? Is that enough? I'm not on track right now. Do I need to do more? And then the lagging metric to evaluate at the 28th, I'd be down a total of 7 pounds by now. Push again for the 15th to your result at the 31st of being down a total of 10 pounds. And then the bottom example is more of that discipline or the habit installation. This is actually one of my personal rocks from last quarter, I think it was. It's general, but it's also specific to the lifestyle category for myself. I had gotten a little bit too into the routine of going home and making dinner and sitting on the couch and then going to bed and then waking up and going to work. And I was in a bit of a rut in that way. And I wanted to get myself out of it. So general but specific, twice a week, do something other than go home after work and log my activity. So I was joining my friends at workout classes. My fiance and I were going out to dinner. We were going on walks. And it was really cool to see the ways that I was able to impact those around me, and how me and my fiance's relationship also was better because of it, in addition to forcing myself to be that person to reach out and initiate every once in a while, because that is not my strength at all times there. Next, I grouped attainable and relevant together because I think they both reference the same resources within the alignment sheet structure. So this is another accountability conversation with whoever you decide to meet up with. Are these really your priorities? And you should confirm alignment across your short-term and your big picture aspirations. So in the personal realm, once again, that future tab, look at where you want to be in 10 to 25 years. What do you have to do this year to get there? And what can I do in the next 90 days to get that started? And then on the professional side of things, quarterly here at Yellowbird, we have a clarity day. And what that is meant to do is review the rocks that we had set for the previous quarter, get closure. Did I achieve them? Did I not? And then we also agree on the priorities for the upcoming quarter. And we set our professional rocks from there. So 6 weeks prior to the clarity day, we start our rock brainstorm. We touch on it every single weekly L10. And then we come to agreement on that clarity day, and we're completely aligned on top priorities, both as a team and individually, that team players' role within the bigger picture goal there. And then lastly, T is for time-based. We've touched on this a few times already, but your goal has a deadline. So whether that's 90 days 1 year or that 10 to 25 year goal mark as well. So I put an example here, which is it's a summary of one of the goals that I have outlined for myself personally. So 10 to 25 year goal for myself is I will own 15 rental properties. So what can I do this year? I can purchase my first one. What can I do in the next 90 days? I can talk to a lender, see what my options are and what I can afford. Any questions on any of that so far before we move on? We're approaching the end here, so
You're doing great.
thanks, Elena.
Really well explained.
Awesome. All right. So this is my ugly duckling that I promised we would revisit to see how exactly I broke her out to be more well-rounded. So personal rocks back in Q4 of 2020. My first stab at rounding this out, I definitely hit physical and financial first. So I had to get established with a vascular surgeon so that I was able to become more physically active and start doing the things that I wanted to do. I also set out to initiate direct deposit into my savings and building a budget via Mint. And then lastly, I also have a screenshot of one of my outstanding to-dos from the previous conversation from one of my first alignment meetings with Pat, where we were discussing I'm spending in these categories, it's within my budget, but I want to start, building points within a credit card and things like that. So these are conversations that I never would have had or become intentional about if it weren't for the alignment sheet structure and that process there. So really big wins, bringing us to 2021, where she's coming along here, but physical, financial, and spiritual could still use some help. So I was engaged. So my fiance and I needed to start talking a bit more of what our plans were versus just my plans. So joint bank account, savings goals, investment property, wedding expenses, future goals that we may have were all subjects that I put a lot of intentional time toward in the year of 2021. Finances dialed in, taking control of my physical well-being via diet, exercise, and supplements. And then lastly were some physical rocks as well. 36 total workouts was one that I had achieved last year. And then also getting serious about my food and water intake. The water intake rock was a big theme for one quarter around the Yellowbird office. And at one point, as we were all pushing to get it through the finish line, there were a few of us walking around with gallon jugs so that we could achieve our intake goals for that quarter. But it was a lot of fun, and we were all very hydrated for 90 days. So. And then this is where it was at the end of 2022. I had put a lot of attention on, once again, that spiritual category, 60 Mindful Mornings. I had ordered a book by Ryan Holiday that has daily entries. It's one page. I'll send a link to that book as well after we get off this call, when I send the recording and all that good stuff out to you guys. But it is a quote of a Stoic from years and years ago, and then it breaks it down into just his evaluation of how to apply that into everyday business or personal life. And one of my biggest takeaways from reading those, and I still read them, I'd say 3 out of 5 mornings before I get started with my day, but it's really grounding to read the thoughts that these people had hundreds or thousands of years ago, and how in a horoscope type of way it relates to where you're at today. And it makes you feel like you're not the first person to ever go through this, you're not the only person, and you are certainly not the last person. So I highly recommend that book as well. And then the Mood and Gratitude Journal, this was through the Calm app. This is something that we suggest to a lot of our Yellowbird team members if you're looking to start some meditation habits. The Mood and Gratitude Journal, I had it notify me at 3:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. And I would have to write 3 things I was grateful for from that day, or 3 successes. And you can shuffle the prompt so it can challenge you to think, in a different way than you have before. But it made it much easier, and I'm quicker to say things I'm grateful for, where people who don't have that practice can think that they don't have much to be grateful for. But I'm grateful for presenting, I'm grateful for the sun. You become much quicker at thinking of the things you're grateful for, and it really can change your outlook overall. And then lastly, quarter four of 2022, these were a bit more in the lifestyle category. So once again, twice a week, do something after work, do anything after work. And I also had one about doing morning chores. I am not an early riser. I'd always say I have enough time to get ready and come to work. Why do I have to wake up early? But it was a good habit. And I've actually, after doing that, it was twice a week. I would wake up earlier than my usual alarm, unload the dishwasher, wipe down the kitchen counter, anything like that. And since then, I have been naturally waking up a bit earlier. And it is nice to get some things done early in the morning, have that sense of accomplishment before you even start your day. So that was another impactful rock for myself there. And then this is the last slide here, so I'm happy to open it up to Q&A afterward. But another interesting insight as I was preparing for this presentation was the ability to go back and look month over month of where my head was at and the conversations that I was having with Pat, who I've been working directly with him since I started here. So we've been doing alignments together for 3 years. But in August of 2020, one of my work wins was continuously gaining more knowledge of the real estate world every day. And then November of 2020, I started helping with the hiring process. I would be leaving the office and I would still have transactions waiting for me. So one of the wins that I put in there, which turned into a bigger conversation, was being able to uphold the new workload and time out of the office. It's almost like flipping back through your diary or a journal and reviewing, where I was at, the things I was working on, and honestly, how much I've grown from a lot of these entries too. January of 2021, rolling with the punches, being open and flexible to change and pushing myself. And then I laugh at the May 2021 entry where I said, I now understand marketing, which is good news because 1 month later I was running the marketing department. So that was funny to look back on and just see how things unfolded over time, and writing things down and reviewing them really helps you push forward and be aligned with those around you on what you're working on, what your top priorities are. And then in the future, the ability to look back and review and see how far you've come is really, it's really a cool thing. So that wraps up the slides. I can stop sharing here. I'm not sure if anyone might have any questions that I can help you with at this time. And like I said, I'll be sending out that email, so it'll contain my direct contact information as well. So feel free to reach out. Jeffrey?
Yeah, thanks for the show, Sarah. My quick question on this one is, how much of your work day is spent doing this? So do you do this after hours in your own time? Do you do this during the work? I know you have meetings with all your compatriots, but what's the split on that? I mean, some of the stuff you're going to be doing on your own, some of the stuff you're going to be doing at work.
Yeah. So being that this is something that we've seen tried and true and have such a great impact on all of our employees, they are welcome to spend their work hours filling out the sheet. We start fresh at the end, at the beginning of a new year. So it probably does take 2 hours or so over time to fill out the alignment sheet as a whole. And then they're welcome to dabble. They know the alignment meeting's coming up. They know we'll be reviewing that present worksheet. So they know the expectation is to review and update the present worksheet, which should only probably take them, 10 to 15 minutes of prep time to prepare for that upcoming meeting where they know specifically what we'll be reviewing. But other than that, it's more of a once a year time spend where I'd say 2 hours or so. But once you start flexing those muscles of thinking about these subjects and setting those goals, it does move faster.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I saw some chats going on as I was presenting. I'm not sure if I missed any questions here. Go ahead, Jeffrey. Is that another one?
Yeah, sorry, I was playing with my controls, but I do have another question.
Yeah.
The what's to keep you from overloading yourself with these? So who's the monitor on, I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do the other thing and I want to do the third thing, and who monitors that? Is there someone check on that, or is that your accountability partner?
That would be your accountability partner. And we actually have Elena on the call here who recently learned from her first time trying to set rocks that I think she had outlined maybe 4 personal rocks for herself, and we had to, tell her to reel it in a little bit in the best way, because that motivation, that excitement to get started is it's very real. But going back to earlier in the presentation where change small, change often, don't bite more than you can chew, because it's easy to get discouraged and stop altogether versus taking small steps in the beginning. So I think it's just having that accountability partner who, like I said, in addition to encouraging you, it's important that they call you out, and sometimes they might have to tell you to slow down too. Let's see. Any other
Thanks again.
You're welcome. Anything else, anyone?
I think the chats were mainly about just getting the alignment sheet, Sarah. So I have all those emails, and everyone can, definitely receive the copy of the alignment sheet when Sarah follows up with not only the presentation, but the sheets too.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And as you guys are working through it the first time, questions come up, feel free to shoot me an email and I'm happy to help however I can. Well, if there's nothing else, I thank you guys all for coming. And like I said, expect to get that email in your inbox probably by the end of the day today. And feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. We'll also include the link to our upcoming events. I know next Saturday, Pat is hosting a beach workout on Saturday morning over in Jacksonville Beach. So open to the public, free to attend. Really looking forward to seeing a lot of people there and keeping in touch on all things Yellowbird.
Yes, and I also just attached the link to our Eventbrite page for the Miracle Mornings within the chat. So definitely join us. It'll be fun. It's kind of like a sunrise workout and then a guided meditation. And Pat, like Sarah said, is going to be leading it. So it'll be really exciting. And we're trying to expand, connect outside of, just the real estate community. So if you have any friends, business professionals that are looking to, join a network, definitely add them and let us know. But we do have our Eventbrite page full of all of our Connect classes, and we're excited to see where this takes us. And like Sarah said, thank you so much for joining.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.